Hi guys, welcome to this week's Money Monday. I am currently in beautiful Kona, Hawaii for a creative session and a recording session, but I ran back over to my hotel room to do this for you guys. So I asked last week if you had any questions about working as an independent musician, any kind of like career related questions, and I got four very, very good questions. A lot of repeated questions that were similar, so I tried to pick the four that I felt like were pretty general. And so I will answer those questions. And if you have any that I did not answer or something else you want me to expand on, please leave a comment below. Be sure to subscribe so you see all my other videos. And here we go.
How do you effectively network when shy or introverted?
So, believe it or not, I actually naturally am extremely introverted, and I always run away whenever I can to, be by myself and to do my own work. And so, I think there's a couple sides to this. The main thing is one. It's the same concept when it comes to becoming, learning how to talk to people or to be pleasant, at least with people. It's the same thing as practicing. Everything becomes natural after you work at it for a long time. And so for me, being a naturally very shy and very self-conscious person, over the years, I've been able to unself-consciousify by just putting myself out there, by making videos. When I first started making videos, I was super in my own head about it, like, oh my God, like, what are people going to say? Do I sound stupid? Do I look stupid? And eventually I realized, like, people, it's good. People aren't actually that judgmental. And if they are, don't worry about them. And just, erase their comments or look at the positive things and focus on that. So the only way to learn how to network, because before you, jump into a situation with a lot of strangers, which might make you freak out even more, the best thing I think is to do one step at a time. So I would recommend, practicing speaking, in front of a camera or speaking to some new people that you might not know one-on-one. But the other concept I do want to talk about, and I did want to hit on, is networking. So I think, oh, the camera's falling. So one topic that I really, really wanted to touch upon, and I'm really glad that you asked, is the whole concept of networking. I personally, everybody has their own methods, and I think depending on your personality and what you are comfortable with, because I'm always about people doing things that are true to themselves. But for me, I don't really actively network. It's not where, I don't go out to parties and, hey, nice to meet you, I play the cello, by the way. I don't do that. And so for me, all of my networking has been from actually sharing. So what I do is I post a lot of videos, obviously a lot of videos of myself, practicing the cello, footage from when I'm doing concerts. Oh, this phone does not want to stay. From when I'm doing concerts, when I'm on tour, behind the scenes stuff, just so, and for me, it genuinely comes from a place of just wanting to share. I use all social media like an online journal because before Facebook was invented and before Instagram, all that, I used to have actual journals. I still have stacks of them from when I was younger, and I would update them sometimes up to 3 times a day. So twice a day, I would literally document every single thing that happened, how I felt about it. And so for me, it was kind of like a natural progression to, oh, hey, check out this new music. Oh, I'm making a new music video. Oh, let me show you guys what I'm up to today. And that kind of accidentally became marketing, or what people call marketing. Like, oh, you're marketing yourself. And for me, it's like, I guess I'm marketing myself by accident, but for me, it's really more truly about sharing. So if you are extremely introverted and you just don't feel comfortable with crowds, you're actually in luck. I think that's actually not perfect, but I think perfect for me to explain to you, because that's actually how I am. I do like to spend a lot of time alone, or with Rambo, of course, but I'm not a person that gets energized by big crowds. Performing is a different thing, but I mean, just having to talk to a lot of people and small talk and whatnot, I don't enjoy that. It drains me, and so for me, luckily, I've been able to kind of network or dangle the carrot, which I will talk about next, dangle the carrot without actually having to go to networking events or any of those things, because I do feel like when you put yourself in a position where potential clients or people approach you as opposed to you shoving yourself on them, not only does it put you at a higher, I don't want to say at an advantage, but you're not coming to somebody begging them for something or asking for something. It's more of you're much better off if somebody has already come across your work, or maybe somebody else mentions something about you to that person. And so what is the dangle the carrot method? I love to use this analogy because I think it's really cute. So imagine we're all rabbits, right? Or everybody's a rabbit, and you have your carrot. That's like your calling card. That's what you do. Now, everybody has a carrot, right? And if there's like a gazillion people running around with carrots, wagging them in front of rabbits, and you're throwing them, you're like, oh, take my carrot. Oh, please try my carrot. It's the best. It's awesome. My carrot's, it's, I think it gets a little bit, I just feel like when you push yourself too much onto someone, the same thing when you're dating, when you're, offering something, it's a little bit off-putting. Generally people want what they can't have. Generally people want something that's exclusive or different, or yeah, a little bit different somehow. So when I say dangle the carrot, what I focus on is trying to make my own carrot. So it's an internal work, not external work. I'm not, trying to network with people. Oh my God, I heard there's this event and this person's going to be there. I'm going to go try to meet them. No, I don't do that at all. I spend that time and energy on how can I make myself better? How can I make my music better? How can I practice more? How can I put out more interesting music or interesting videos or art for people to see? And hopefully, in turn, instead of me needing to approach them, they will approach me. So I equate that to having my carrot and then, making it pretty, washing it every day to make sure it stays fresh, if carrots stay fresh forever, putting little Swarovski crystals on it and trying to make it really like shiny and weird and interesting. Just kind of, not bum rushing like everybody else, like desperately pushing carrots in people's faces, but standing off in the corner, like, here's my carrot. If you want to check it out, that's great. If not, and for me, I've just found that it's a psychology, right? Everything is human psychology. So for me, I found that method of networking much more efficient. So I have never attended a networking event, at least on purpose. I actually don't, and I don't think I ever have. I've never attended a networking event. I don't reach out to people. I don't ask anyone for work. I never do that. So everything I do is focused internally. How can I make my own product better? How can I make myself better as a musician, as a person, and share and put out interesting content that hopefully people will find valuable, and then in turn, naturally, it'll come back. And so hopefully that answers your question. And so yeah, just for you, I would recommend that you just focus on what it is that you're selling, what you're doing, because you didn't mention what it is that you do. And say, for example, you are a cello player. First, make sure you are the best cello player that you can possibly be, right? So make sure you're practicing a lot. Make sure you're aware of what other cello players are doing. And I always say, aim for the highest. Compare yourself to the highest possible, it's not competition, but the highest possible thing that you can compare yourself to, right? And for me, it's like Jacqueline du Pré is my cello hero. Yo-Yo Ma is amazing. And I do compare my classical playing in I try not to be, biased because it's me, but I try to compare. I'll make recordings, and I'll listen to them, and I'll study the other cello players, and I compare myself to my heroes because, in the world today, it is a very small world because of social media and how easily everyone's connected. So you can't set your bar really low and just compare yourself to your friends or your family or people at your school, because that's nothing. That's like not even a microscopic, not even like a micro percent of reality. The reality is we're a big, beautiful world. Everything is possible, but it's also higher competition. And so the only way to truly, I think, be successful in that way, in the business of music, is to be realistic. You have to understand there's so many amazing, talented people all over the world, and you have to understand what level they're performing at, what they're doing, and then ask yourself honestly, hey, Am I comparable to them? Am I doing something equally interesting? Can I play as well? And so I think being fully self-aware and conscious of yourself and not being biased because you're like, oh, it's me, so I'm the best. No, you have to really be honest with yourself. And then really focusing internally. So I think in the end, this very long-winded answer to your question is focus internally on how you can make yourself the best possible product or person or musician that you can possibly be.
Question number 2. How do you get people to watch your music videos and buy your music?
You can't force anyone to do anything that they don't want to. So it kind of goes back to the first thing that we talked about, which is giving value. So doing something that's interesting. And someone might say, how do you do something that's interesting? For me, I feel like what I've always done is just kind of whatever I feel like doing, which I know is not very specific. But if I have an idea for a really extreme, artistic, weird, music video that gets 18 and over, flagged on YouTube. But for me, that was being true to myself. That's what I wanted to do. So I did that. And I think that was a Queen Bee music video, and it did garner some attention. But I didn't do it because I thought, oh, people will think this is really extreme. It really genuinely came from myself, as well as all of my other videos. I have some that are very demure, and like that's also another part of me. So for me, I just do whatever comes from inside, and I think possibly, I'm not sure, but maybe some people do have out there ideas or wild ideas or certain things, and they feel like, oh, but will people judge me? What will people think? And the first thing you have to know is you cannot give a flying churro about what people think. It doesn't matter. You have to be true to yourself. You have to do what comes naturally through you, because that's the only way that you can be authentic. And if people resonate with it, if people like what you do, they'll connect with it. And I've done so many things. People only see and hear the music and the music videos that have worked. I've done so many music videos that barely have any views. Like really, if you go to my channel and you scroll through all my videos, yeah, some videos have almost 7 million views, but literally there's some with only like 1,000 or a few hundred. So not everything we do, anybody does, works. And I think, if you're just doing it for the art, or, oh, I'm just a hobby musician, a hobby artist, you can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if people like it or not. But I think most of us want people to like our music or our art. And if you're trying to do it as a business, you have to run it like a business. You are a business. You're a brand. You're not just a musician, whatever that means. But it's a product. It still is a product. It's a tangible product. So I would recommend that you put out. First of all, you have to put out material. You have to make the videos in the first place. And if you notice, and don't only try to gauge off of your family and friends, again, because they will be nice to you, and it's very rare that people who are your friends or still want to remain your friends or your family will say anything negative, even if they feel it, because they want to protect you. And I we're all the same. We're all like that, because we're nice. Oh my gosh, there's a little meerkat that was just walking by with a piece of food in his mouth. Okay, sorry. I wish I caught that on camera. So I would recommend that you do your music videos, because in order to get people to watch them, you have to have some kind of product, and post it. Make sure to use hashtags. I'm sure everybody already knows how to use them. If you don't know how to use hashtags, use this amazing invention called Google, which will tell you everything you need to know about anything, and see how you can incorporate those into your various social media posts. I would recommend, if you put a music video up on YouTube, post, like what I do, a 60-second segment or a shorter segment onto Instagram, Twitter, and drive the traffic over to YouTube, so they can watch the full video. And so you can do that, and then just gauge, compare. So if you put out 5 videos and one of them has significantly more interest or more views than the others, look at the video, say, okay, what did I do here? Why did people like this one more? Is it maybe a cover? Are people discovering me because they're searching for the original music or whatever that a song was attached to, like a movie, and then by accident, through the search engine, maybe they found my music, and oh, maybe that's a good way for me to build my fan base, so that eventually I can also sprinkle in original material. So doing covers is a great thing. I feel like I've built a lot of my career on doing covers, my own versions of movie soundtracks, or metalizing, certain songs or whatnot. So that's a really great tool. Getting people to watch your videos really is, first you have to actually make the videos, and second of all, you can't get people to watch your videos. And sometimes, there's certain projects, I've done many band projects that didn't really go anywhere, and if you do something for a while and it's like pulling teeth, pulling hairs to get people to watch your video or listen to your music, I'm so sorry, but I have to be honest with you. There are too many musicians in the world. There's so many, not too many. There's so many, and not everybody's going to make it. Not everyone's going to be able to have a career. So you have to be, you have to also study the market. Study your product. And for some reason, if nobody likes your music, you got to do something different. I'm not saying not do music, but try something different. Try a different approach. If you are trying to make this your main source of income, if music is your brand. And then as far as people buying your music, now that is a tricky one. So most people nowadays, probably including you yourself and me, when we listen to music, we stream, because it's convenient. And there's no point in fighting something that's already established, because that's just, no one cares, no matter how much we yell or scream, streaming is here to stay because it's convenient, it's inexpensive. So we have to find a way and streaming does pay, it's just very little. So you have to find a way. I would recommend watching some of my other videos where I've talked about residual income. the very first thing that I talked about in last week's video about residual income for musicians is how to make your own products, because these products, online courses, online music lessons, merchandise items, whatever, all the different things, these are actual things that can sell and make you money, because thinking that you're actually going to be able to pay all your bills and become financially successful just by selling music is not realistic, right? It's very, very difficult. And for me, as far as actual physical CD sales, the most sales is always usually after a live show, because I go out into the lobby and sign, autograph, and I sell the CD. So a lot of people I think it's part of the experience, to meet you, to have you actually physically sign it in front of them, take a photo. And then other than that, I do sell my own CDs and merchandise off of my own merchandise store, which I talked about in my last video. There's all the information about how I set that up. I try to make it special in that, I'll autograph the items. Sometimes I'll personalize them if people request that. And so I think adding extra value. So if you are trying to sell physical copies of your music, that's probably the best way to do it, is to offer something a little bit more than they would get just by, streaming your music or downloading it somewhere for free or just watching it on YouTube.
Question number 3. How do you get hired for video games and to be in videos?
How do you get hired? So for soundtrack work, how I got started, first of all, before you can do any recording work or try to, present yourself as a session musician, you have to know how to do it. So if you're just at home, if you don't live in LA or one of the cities where there's a lot of recording work going on for film and TV, I would recommend, for me, I started on GarageBand because it came free with my Mac, and so I learned. It's very, very intuitive, very easy to use. Same with iMovie. You should learn how to edit your own videos, you should edit your own music, record your own music. So all you need, if you watch some of my studio tour videos, it'll show you the very simple setup that I have. You need a computer, you need some kind of DAW, so a system like I use Logic right now, but I started with GarageBand. You need a interface, which is the device that connects your microphone, if you're an instrumentalist, your microphone to your computer, and the actual microphone, and a mic stand. So it's actually not that many items that you need in order to set this up, and then kind of, figure out how it works. It's very simple. Learn how to play along with click. For those of you who are classical musicians who maybe hate playing with a metronome, you are out of luck, because doing session work is all about playing with metronome. Everything, for the most part, everything is on click, so everyone can stay together, because a lot of times there's a huge amount of musicians and people working on the same track, sometimes separately, so you really have to be on the grid. So really learn to feel comfortable. You can even do that, practice playing different pieces, sight reading different pieces using a metronome, because I would say 99% of the sessions that I do, so I would say not my main, maybe my third highest source of income now is working as a session musician. I like to call it my day job, but I'm also very passionate about it. I'm very lucky to be able to do a lot of it. And the thing is, you have to be a very strong sight reader, because most of the work that I do, the first time I see the music that I have to record perfectly, in tune, everything perfectly, I see it when I'm recording. So it's very, very rare that you actually will get music ahead of time, because there's a lot of deadlines. Sometimes composers are, literally finishing writing the piece, or not even finished yet, for your session when you're going in, because they're trying to finish things before the next spotting session or whatever. So I would recommend that you practice sight reading. If you're not a strong sight reader, you're not going to do very well in the session world. It's just not going to happen, right? So you have to make sure that you can sight read music. And what is sight reading? That's basically where you just get sheet music for the very first time and be able to play it, without a lot of practice. So having good technique. And the best way, how do you practice sight reading? You just get a lot of random music that you've never played before. You don't have to do anything too difficult. It's usually not concerto level music, because composers are also aware, okay, these musicians are seeing the music for the very first time, so it's not going to happen if I write something that's impossible to play. But practice doing stuff that's relatively difficult, because it's better to approach something over-prepared than under-prepared. Put on the metronome, look at a new piece of music, maybe a new etude or something that you've never played, and it's not good for practice to learn a piece, but to practice sight reading, play it at full speed. See if you can do it. Record yourself doing it. If it sounds horrendous, you tell yourself, okay, obviously I have a lot to work on, and you can analyze which part of it are you having trouble with. Is it figuring out what the notes are by reading off of it? Do you not actually know your way around the fingerboard well enough so that you know where all the notes are without actually having to practice it for many hours? And really analyze that. So the very first thing to lead to a successful session music career is to actually be able to play your instrument very, very well, and to have the technical dexterity and the understanding of the instrument so that you are able to sight read and hopefully play almost anything, at least by, I would say, the third take, so the third try, because usually they pay you by the hour, and if you spend the first 35 minutes trying to figure out how to play a piece of music that they put in front of you, or God forbid you play out of tune, you probably will never get hired again by that client. So that would not be good. So the first thing is to make sure that you are prepared, because there are no second chances. If you mess up, or you waste the client's time, or you don't present yourself very well, it's not going to look very good for you for future opportunities. So make sure you are prepared ahead of time. And then as far as getting work in specific things, for me, again, like what I mentioned earlier, I don't network. I don't reach out to people. I don't present myself and say, hey, you should have me on your score. I don't do that. I just focus on my own stuff, and most of my clients, they actually have approached me because they've seen my videos on YouTube or on social media, and also by word of mouth, because it is a very small industry. Everybody knows each other eventually, in the scoring world or session world, and so maybe composers or people have worked with me and then they recommend me to someone else. So the best thing for you to do, again, if you are not in a city like Los Angeles or New York or Nashville or some of these cities that have a lot of session work where you can maybe gain experience by doing very small sessions for smaller projects, I would recommend that you just get your own setup at home, kind of learn how to record yourself, and you can actually hire yourself out and present your services as a remote recording session musician. And actually, when I first started, I did most of my sessions in person. I played in the big orchestras, big groups, and then I slowly started doing more solo stuff. And now I would say 90 to 95% of my recording work is all done remotely. So whether that's with clients who are overseas or really far away, or even clients who are in the same city as me, sometimes it just saves time. So the composer will send me, the MIDI, the stems. The stems is basically just each individual part. It's like separated, I'm trying to explain this, so separated parts of a song. So if a song is piano, cello, and violin or something, the stems would be the piano part, separately, the cello part separately, the violin part separately, just so that you have control over the mix level, over how loud you want everything in your own headphones, because everybody has different preferences. So they send me the files. Sometimes there's sheet music. Sometimes if I'm improvising or co-writing, there's no music. I just write it or figure it out as I go along. Sometimes I read off the MIDI, so it's pretty easy to turn MIDI into sheet music if you within Logic, which is what I use, or any of the other programs. And so you can actually practice doing this. You can find actually MIDI files online of lots of different things, lots of different music. People have just done it for fun, and you can download it for free just for practice. You can download it, put it into your system, figure out how that works, watch some tutorials, again, like on YouTube for free, about how to do all that, and just really teach yourself so you have the skill to do it. And then I'm trying to think, you can probably post, if I were starting out and I was in a city that did not have a lot of that type of work, it is still possible totally to be a successful session musician as a remote session musician. You just have to market yourself in that way. So I would make a website that has music samples of what you have recorded yourself, so the same quality as what you would be able to present clients. So you could do a couple practice pieces of you playing things. You could even do a cover of something that's very recognizable. Just to I would have at least 3 samples in different styles of music. Have a very simple website, which does not cost very much. I use Squarespace. It works great. I upload and I update everything by myself. So it's it's like Facebook, where you kind of fill in the blanks, you put in little parts. I'm sure you can figure it out. You guys are all very smart. And so I would have a website, and then I would share it to my social media. So to Facebook, to Instagram, I would post samples. For me, every time I do a remote session, and if it's not like a top secret NDA, non-disclosure statement type of game or soundtrack, I do ask, hey, are you guys okay if I post a little tiny clip of me recording just so I can share what we're doing? And most of the time, people are like, yeah, go for it. That's great. Be sure to tag me. Don't forget to tag me. So I would recommend, even if you're not doing it for anyone, if it's just a sample, for your own business purposes, like a business card, just take a video of yourself actually recording. So if you're playing violin, take a video of yourself in front of your setup with the microphone, recording, and be sure to write in the description. I'm available for recording sessions for your project. Go to my website if you'd like to find out more, and then you can put a link to your website or put it in to the link in your bio, just so people can find you. So, and I'm telling you, social media, I feel like, most of my career has been built on social media. It really is such an amazing, wonderful, free for the most part tool that can really help you spread your brand and spread whatever it is that you're doing. And so, if you do all these things and you do it very, very consistently, make sure you're posting about it a lot daily, right? So if you post about other things, make sure that I would say at least 50% or slightly more of your posts are music related or related to your product, because you want people to have a good first impression. You want people to feel like, wow, this person is really serious about their career as a session musician or a remote recording musician or whatever it is. So hopefully that is helpful.
Question number 4. What are the pros and cons of being independent versus signed to a label?
So I self-released many albums, 9 albums, before I was signed to Sony Masterworks 2 years ago. And there's pros and cons to everything in life. Definite pros. Let's start with working for yourself. So if you just self-release your own music using CD Baby or whatever you're using, the pros is that you do have full control, obviously creative control over everything. If you have the money to invest, and honestly, I didn't spend that much making my albums because I did record everything myself. I mixed everything myself for the most part. I mastered everything myself. I figured out my own artwork, and I just had the disc makers print the CDs. So I really did everything myself to keep costs as low as possible. Did most of the programming, and so I didn't really hire any other musicians for most of the albums. It's all me. And so if people do buy the music, your return usually comes back a lot faster because the cost is low, of course, but you keep all the ownership, right? So you get 100% of the profit back. And yes, you do have creative freedom. There were some times when I would release, I think once I released 3 albums in the same year, which is not necessarily a good thing, but it's a free-for-all nowadays, and I just felt I was in like a music craze, and I put out 3 albums in a year, and that usually won't happen with a label. And I think that's probably, for me, the creative freedom, and then having more control and ownership of your music if you are independent is definitely a huge pro. With my experience being signed to Sony Masterworks, it's been a very good experience, actually. And I was concerned at first. I thought about, I don't know, because I'm already putting out CDs. I'm already doing it. But signing with Sony Masterworks and partnering with them, for me, made it possible to have much bigger budgets for my projects, which is also a good thing, because before, all the music, and all, you guys know the story about that Queen Bee music video that I did. I literally went broke doing it. I really put all my eggs in one basket and really bet on that. Thankfully, it worked, but it could have not worked, so that would have been bad. But when I'm signed to a label, it is nice that the financial risk is not there. So that for me would be the biggest plus. And then also, having just other people who are working with you, so they have helped a lot with doing some showcases and getting certain articles published with different distributors online or whatnot. And so that's been good. But I don't, to be honest with you, I don't think signing to a label or not signing to a label is a make or break it for anybody. I think there's good and bad things about both situations. With the label, I don't, of course, have complete creative control. Thankfully, I feel like I have a lot compared to a lot of artists, because I still do self-produce everything. It's my ideas that I present, but it does have to go through an approval process by the label, which is, again, not a bad thing, because if everybody at a label says, oh my God, that's horrible, it does make you think, okay, maybe I can try something different. So for me, it's a good experience. I've put out one album, the Game On album, 2 years ago. I'm currently working on my second album, and then after this, I have two more, so it's a 4 album deal. And then after that, we'll see where we are. But for me, I probably, to be honest, I probably will go solo for a bit after that, to get all of my, because I have so many, you guys, I have so many ideas and tracks, and a lot of it's weird music, which I don't even know if will truly sell, but I do like to put out a lot of stuff, as you probably already know, and to be able to do that is nice, but I'm trying to be in the moment and focusing. It's important to always focus on the pluses of any situation and to really appreciate it, because I do appreciate all these cool videos that I've been able to do lately, which to be honest, I don't know if I would have invested that much of my own personal money. So I think it's definitely a good thing if you could find a good label with people who really care and believe in your music. And also, last but not least, it's not like the old days, that I heard about, because I wasn't around for those days. But the old days where labels will come out and develop an artist and and get a complete nobody and suddenly be discovered and be famous overnight. That stuff does happen through YouTube, through social media. If something goes viral. But again, so the labels will approach you once the people will jump on the wagon once it's already rolling, right? So don't sit around thinking that someone's going to come and save you, or sometimes people say, oh, I just need a manager. No, because why would anybody want 15% or 20% of nothing, right? It's a business. So you have to already be generating product and doing things and getting out there, and then that's when other people will be interested in working with you. And that totally goes back to the same, dangle the carrot thing. That it's all about dangling the carrot. So once you have a really cool, interesting carrot and it's already, dangling and you're doing your own thing, people will come. Labels will come, managers will come, agents will come, clients will come if you're trying to do session music or whatever. So concert offers will come, and for me, that's how I found that it works. That type of energy works the best for me, and I think it probably will work for almost any type of situation, whatever it is that you do. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to go head over back to the house to do a little bit of work. Hopefully you guys have found this useful. Please subscribe if you are not already subscribed, and check out my other stuff if you'd like. Join me on social media. All of the links are below. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any other questions you would like me to answer, I will do that. Just leave a comment below, and I will see you guys soon. Bye!